Hello, ladies. Happy Monday. Happy Monday. I hope that you once again enjoyed your weekend and it was something that you did for yourself, a little spoiling yourself a little bit, maybe. Did you buy yourself maybe a chance to be at a spa? That's what I'm about to do. I'm about to literally go to a spa, get a nice massage soon. So I'm hoping that you would do the same. Because even though we work hard and we are needed in what we do, we still have to take care of ourselves. And you know that I'm always telling you that. So be sure that by next weekend, you have done something really nice for yourself. Because you deserve it. And you know, guys, you know what I'm about to tell you, how beautiful you are. You're absolutely gorgeous. You're absolutely beautiful. Because I will never stop saying that because women are beautiful. And anyway, how about this? Men can't do anything without us. They cannot, right? So they need us. And we are needed with our kids. We're needed with our husbands. We're needed with our jobs. So we just have it going on. How about that? So I want you to pat yourself on the back because you are exactly beautiful and you are exactly gorgeous. So I want to welcome you guys back to the Estrogen Chronicles, Her Plate, Her Power. And I am your host, functional nutritionist, Gail Thorpe, at your service. I am a health detective. What does that actually mean? Well, functional nutrition is more in depth as far as getting to the bottom line of your health. So I provide a lot of strategic testings. So it can be anything from regular panels on down to genetic panels to really find out what's going on. I dig deeper into your health. I dig deeper into what you're eating, deeper into your stress levels, all of that, because all of this plays a big role in getting you well. Okay, so functional nutrition is a little bit or a lot of bit different than your average person. So definitely want to stay in connection with me because I am here to get to the bottom line of your health. So I want you ladies to sit back and relax today, and I want you to pull up your or lay down and drink some of your coffee, your tea, have a glass of wine if you like, some water, and I want you to enjoy this podcast with me. So last week we talked about having diabetes as women. We talked a lot about how does it form. What are the signs that we need to look for? We talked about the different foods that we need to eat to take back our plate, right? Because there's power in our plate with any condition that we have. We talked about if you have to go to a doctor because of the signs that you're receiving, what are some of the testings that he will do? We talked about all of that great stuff, right? So please, if you didn't get a chance to check out last week's topic, please go back and take a look at it. Please share it with people that you know that are currently suffering with diabetes, especially as being a woman. But I also wanted to dig deeper as far as if you're pre-diabetic. So what exactly happens with that, right? Because that's like the first stage. So today we're going deep on pre-diabetes, especially how to read your first test results, what those numbers actually mean for you as a woman, and the step-by-step roadmap to reverse it naturally. Okay? So if you recently have gotten blood work back that had you worried, or if you're wondering what numbers to even ask for, this episode gives you your clarity and the confidence and a plan. So let's decode this together, ladies. Okay? So understanding your pre-diabetes test results is key. So first, let's talk about the numbers so you know exactly where you stand. So there are 3 key tests that doctors will use, as I mentioned last week, to see exactly where you are. So your first would be your fasting blood glucose. Now, normal is under 100 mg/dL. Pre-diabetes lives between 100 to 125 mg/dL. Your A1C, normal is below 5.7%. Pre-diabetes is 5.7 to 6.4%. So this shows your average blood sugar over 2 to 3 months. And then you have the oral glucose test. And this measures how your body handles blood sugar overload. So with pre-diabetes, it shows 140 to 199 mg/dL at the 2-hour mark. Now, as a woman, your results aren't just numbers. They're actually influenced by estrogen, progesterone, PCOS, perimenopause is influenced by sleep, and stress. A slightly elevated A1C might mean insulin resistance. Could be tied to your cycle, not just bad eating. Okay? So what are some action steps that we can take? Now, first of all, you want to get all 3 tests. One normal fasting glucose doesn't rule out prediabetes. A1C and the OGTT, which was the oral glucose tolerance test, tell the full story. Okay? Now, as far as prediabetes and it hitting women differently. Now, hormone fluctuations, for instance. Estrogen helps insulin work better, but progesterone, especially in the luteal phase, can make you more insulin resistant. Now, this is why some women see blood sugar creep up before their period. So for PCOS connection, we have up to 70% of women with PCOS that have insulin resistance, even at a normal weight. So this is why it's important to be tested. And then for perimenopause, so declining estrogen makes fat storage shift to your midsection, which also helps to worsen insulin sensitivity, right? So sometimes, like, when you're not able to lose that stomach, there could be something else going on. Maybe you are insulin resistant. So we don't want to guess. We must test. And then you have the stress response. So women's cortisol response is longer lasting, actually. So keeping blood sugar elevated even after stress passes. Okay? So stress plays such a huge role, ladies. You've heard me talk about that in just about almost every episode, because we do process our stress differently, and it affects us in a lot of different ways. It can affect our cycles. It can affect, definitely causing these type of problems, hormonal fluctuations. So this is why it's important for us when we're diagnosed with anything, that even if it's we want to make sure to get those stress levels under control. Okay? Okay. So what actually works? What is actually going to help when you actually are diagnosed with prediabetes? Because at this point, the doctor is not going to give you any type of medication unless you become a full-fledged diabetic. So you're in that in-between stage where you definitely need attention, and at the same time, you're not quite where they want to give medication, okay? But you have to take it serious. You have to take it serious, okay? Those numbers are actually telling the story. Like I said, it goes back 2 to 3 months. So we need to take this serious about what's happening in our bodies, because what we don't want to become a full-fledged diabetic. And unfortunately, that can happen if we don't take care of the problem right away. So what can we do to help stabilize blood sugar immediately when we're in a pre-diabetic state? So first of all, in helping us to take back our plate, and we do that for power. We know from previous episodes and what we do here is that nutrition is always at the cornerstone of any kind of condition that you may have and that you may experience. Okay? So we want to start with eating every 3 to 4 hours. We want to make sure we include protein, fat, and fiber at every meal. So, for example, 2 eggs, for instance, spinach, and maybe a quarter cup of avocado. Okay? Post-meal walks. So 10 minutes after eating drops our blood sugar 20 to 30% if we walk. After, at least give ourselves 10 minutes, and then we start to walk because it would actually help to drop our blood sugar. Sitting around and living a very sedentary lifestyle is only going to cause things to continually rotate in your body. So we want to get to walking, get the circulation going, and if we can do that after our meals, that will also help so much. Apple cider vinegar. So we want to try at least 1 tablespoon in water before meals, which also helps to improve insulin sensitivity. Okay? Now, we're going to pretty much consider this a 4-week plan. Okay? So that would be the first week. And we're going to continue that. Okay? So the second, we want to work on the fix of hormonal foundation. So cycle sync eating. So again, more protein, fat in the luteal phase, which is the second half of your cycle. We want to increase sleep optimization. So 7 to 8 hours at least, because poor sleep spikes cortisol and cravings. And normally when we go for cravings, what do we go for? We want something sugary, and we also want something a lot of times that is salty. Okay? So if we sleep like we're supposed to at least 7 to 8 hours a day, that will help us to not wake up with cravings. And stress buffer. So 5 minutes of magnesium, glycinate, before bed, at least 300 to 400 milligrams is what we want to aim for. In case you need some help to be able to sleep, the magnesium will help to calm your system and help you to sleep. So 300 to 400 milligrams would be fantastic. So now our third week fix is to build metabolic flexibility. So what we want to do is we want to add resistance training at least 20 minutes, 3 times a week. So muscle burns glucose even at rest. Okay, like I said, living a sedentary lifestyle is not going to help us. So we definitely want to add some resistance training to this as well. And then we want to be strategic with our carbs. So sweet potatoes, berries, and quinoa, only after protein and fat. Okay? So remember that. We can go ahead and eat those sweet potatoes and the berries, everything within moderation, and a quinoa, but only after protein and fat. And then we talked about this last week, is the berberine. 500 milligrams 2 times a day with meals. It's actually nature's metformin. But you want to make sure and check with your doctor. Because again, if you're taking medications, you know how I feel about that. You don't want to mix them because sometimes medications, and if you're taking a supplement, it can either increase the effectiveness of the medication or it can decrease the effectiveness of the medication. So we want to make sure that we are in alignment, that we don't want that to be the problem. Okay? But berberine has been known to be nature's metformin, which is normally a pill that doctors do give when a person is fully pledged a diabetic. Now for week 4 is our test and tweak. We want to retest our fasting glucose weekly. We want to track symptoms, our energy, our cravings, and our PMS. And we want to adjust based on our cycle phase and our stress levels. Okay? So this is a concrete plan if we are pre-diabetic, guys, to help us to reset and get back on track so that we do not become a full-fledged diabetic. Okay? Because that is so important. So I call this the daily diabetes defense plate. Taking back our plate, understanding what we need to eat when we're in a pre-diabetes phase. Every meal follows or should follow this ratio. You want to have a half plate of non-starchy veggies. So spinach and broccoli and zucchini would be great options. You want to do 1/4 plate of protein, which is eggs, chicken, fish, or even tofu. And you want to also do a 1/4 plate of healthy fat. So anything like avocado, nuts, or olive oil. Okay? And this could be optional. You can do a fist-sized low glycemic carb after protein and fat. So for example, let's say, for example, when it comes down to your breakfast, you can do 2 eggs scrambled with spinach, 1/4 avocado, and black coffee. And for example, for lunch, you want to do grilled chicken, mixed greens, cucumber, olive oil, and lemon. And another example would be for our dinner. You want to do salmon, you want to do broccoli, cauliflower, rice is a better option, and with maybe, let's say, tahini drizzle. Okay? So you don't have to starve yourself. That's not the key. That's not what we're aiming. We're taking back our plate because we want to prevent our pre-diabetes from turning into full-fledged diabetes. But there's a science behind on what we eat, how we eat it, and what also accompanies after we eat something. Because you notice I'm saying that certain things you eat after your protein. Okay? All right, guys. Now, I always like to also tell you about supplements that you can take. I've already mentioned 2, but just to kind of reiterate this again, okay? And always, again, check with your doctor because that's important. So whether you're taking medication or whether you're not taking any kind of medication, it's important that you check with your doctor, but especially if you're taking medication. Give me 1 second, ladies. I'll be right back. Okay, ladies, sorry about that. The office phone was ringing, so you know how that goes. So let's get back to what we were talking about. So I was mentioning to you about checking with your doctor with any type of supplements, okay? But here are just some of the supplements we just talked about and then one extra one. So berberine, 500 milligrams 2 times a day. It helps to improve your insulin sensitivity. It's kind of nature's metformin, which is a medication that they normally give when you are a full-fledged diabetic. And then we want to do magnesium, 300 to 400 milligrams of magnesium glycinate. 60% of diabetes are deficient in magnesium. Okay? And it does help. It does help as far as sleep. And then cinnamon. So a half teaspoon daily. This actually slows your stomach slow stomach emptying, and it blunts sugar spikes. So cinnamon is fantastic for people who are dealing with diabetes or even are pre-diabetic. Okay? So when should you start to see some of the results based upon this 4-week program of basically preventing becoming full-fledged diabetic? So week 1, you'll start to experience less cravings, more stable energy. And then by week 4 10 to 20 point drop in fasting glucose. 3 months in, your A1C drops to 0.5 to 1.0 points. And 6 months often is fully reversed pre-diabetes. Okay? Now, keep in mind though, consistency beats perfection. One off-track meal doesn't erase 3 days of great choices. So consistency is the key. So after you're going through this plan, like I said, you got the test results back and you find out that you're pre-diabetic and you become very scared because you don't want to become full-fledged. So you want to take this seriously and you want to know what to do. We just talked about that 4-week plan to help you on how you balance out your food and what you need to do. So your next steps now. You want to make sure to go back and get a comprehensive blood work again, your fasting glucose plus your A1C plus your OGTT. You want to make sure and track your blood sugar patterns for 7 days, even without a monitor, especially when you're having energy crashes. And you want to start with one change. So 10-minute post-meal walks, right? That's something easy, guys. So once you eat something, just take a little brief walk. You know what? And if you don't feel like going outside, walk around your house. Walk around your backyard if you have one. Or you can just walk inside your house. I've done that myself before. Okay? And then you want to go and retest in 12 weeks. So just know that having prediabetes isn't a life sentence. It's data that's basically telling you exactly what your body is needing. And as a woman, you have the power to decode that data and design your way back to balance. Okay? And I think that is something that I want you guys to really understand. That any condition that you may be diagnosed with recently, okay, it doesn't have to mean that that's it for you. You're done. Nothing else is going to be able to happen in your life. You won't be able to live. It doesn't mean that, guys. What it just means is that your body is giving you information. It's saying that, hello, this area needs attention. That's what it's saying. And if you look at it like that, even if you're diabetic, like I mentioned last week, don't feel ashamed if you are diabetic. Okay? Because it's not a death sentence for you. You can literally eradicate diabetes. And a huge part of that is lifestyle changes, including your stress levels, your exercise, definitely the foods you're eating. Okay? You can make changes, right? And then pre-diabetic, it's just saying, you have to pay more attention in this area because if you don't, there's a possibility that you become a full-fledged diabetic. Okay? So, we've come to the point of our episode, ladies, of our gift. As always, I always give a gift at the end because I want you to start right away with your program. I think that we cover some great things and great tips for you if you are pre-diabetic and what you can begin to do starting now. So what I wanted to provide today is another diabetes-friendly option that includes antioxidants from pomegranate, which actually helps to balance low sugar. And it helps also, you have here in this juice that I'm about to give you, low sugar veggies to help manage your blood sugar for prediabetes prevention. So with this recipe, it keeps natural sugars minimum while providing hydration and anti-inflammatory benefits. And like we talked about last week, ladies, how important hydration is too when you are diabetic, or even if you're not diabetic. Staying hydrated is important. So make sure you have your water like I do every day. So what you want to do is, now these are going to include ingredients that is organic, of course. So you want to have a half cup of fresh pomegranate seeds, 2 celery stalks, 1 cucumber, and a squeeze of lime, about a half lime. Okay? And you want to wash all the produce well. Juice the pomegranate seeds, the celery, cucumber, and lime together. Strain to remove the pulp and serve in a small 4 to 6 ounce glass immediately. And we've talked about this many times. Whenever you are juicing, you want to not have that juice sitting around for 20 hours. You want to juice right away, preferably on an empty stomach, so that way the nutrient absorption is also immediate. Okay? And you notice how I'm emphasizing the size, like I did last week as well with the other juice recipe. It's important that we don't want to spike anything. We don't want to cause our blood levels, sugar levels to go up higher. We want to keep everything where it needs to be at minimum, right? Everything in moderation. So we're going to do 4 to 6 ounces in this case of this particular juice. Now, the pomegranate actually delivers potent antioxidants that support heart health and may aid in insulin sensitivity, while celery and cucumber aid electrolytes and fiber without carbs. And as I mentioned, the small portion prevents sugar overload. You want to make sure to use fresh pomegranate for best flavor. Do not go into any kind of bottled juice in this case. And preferably drink this mid-morning and track your glucose levels. Okay? So I think that is an excellent juice for you to have and for you to try. And you can go ahead and drink that several times a week if you like. If you want to do it every other day, that's fine as well, because this is a friendly recipe and keeping it at 4 to 6 ounces is key. Okay, ladies. So this is part 2 of last week. We talked about full-fledged diabetes. But I wanted to not leave the ladies out who have been recently diagnosed with being pre-diabetic. What do? Okay? What are the options for them? So I think that this episode is really important because a lot of people are diagnosed with pre-diabetes. A lot of people. Just like a lot of people have diabetes, a lot of people are pre-diabetic. And you want to know what can you do? So we talked about doing a 4-week comprehensive plan that can help you in how to balance out your foods with the fats and the protein and what type of vegetables that you need to include on your plate. We talked about the testings that you need to get done. Okay? We talked about, keeping your stress levels down, which is so important, and also keeping the hydration going. All of these things plays a role, ladies. And if you follow this plan, and if you keep it going, you can literally, when you retest, because you want to make sure and retest again, you can literally prevent pre-diabetes, and a doctor comes back and says, you are no longer pre-diabetic. And that is what we want to hear. Okay? All right, ladies. So with that being said, I think, like I said, we've covered a lot of great information within these last 2 episodes. This should hopefully give you enough pointers to know what to do on both of them. If you're pre-diabetic and if you're full-fledged diabetic. Okay? Just make sure you listen to your body. And remember that when you get testings that come back and not what you want to see, it's just your body telling you, hey, we need a little attention in this area. That's all. Don't look at it as a death sentence, ladies. Okay, ladies. So with that being said again, I am hoping that you have a great rest of your week. Have a fantastic rest of your week. I am hoping that you spoil yourself. So by next week, maybe you can send me some comments and tell me exactly what you did to actually do some self-care. That's what's so important, because remember, we want to keep our stress levels down. And just like I've provided this information to you, please know that other women need to get this information too. So how can they get it, ladies? They can get it through you. Be sure that you like this podcast, make sure that you share this podcast, and make sure you subscribe. I am actually on all the major podcast channels, from Spotify to Amazon to YouTube, Apple, all of the major channels. So there's no excuses. So make sure you like, and that you share, and that you subscribe. And if you want to work with me in helping, if you are pre-diabetic and you're afraid and you want to work with someone that can hold you accountable, and maybe get some other further testing to see where your hormones are, or anything else that you may want to take a look at. Like I said, I am a functional nutritionist, and I can test for many things and supplements that I can give as well. You want to go ahead and go to www.nutritionudesign.com. And again, that's www.nutritionudesign.com, and book your appointment. I would love to work with you and take the time with you. And we don't guess here. We test here, right? So we're going to take those testings that's needed. A lot of testings you don't even get in a doctor's office, because they're more genetic type testing, more type of preventative type testing. So you want to definitely take a look at this type of area of medicine. I would love to work with you, but just go to my website, book an appointment, and you can also find my telephone number. You can call me. Whatever you like to do, that's fine as well. I'm also located on Instagram under Nutrition You Design. That is the company name. Estrogen Chronicles is the podcast name. But you can follow the company, Nutrition You Design, on Facebook as well as Instagram, all of your leading social media platforms, guys. There's a lot of great information that pops up there, from recipes and tips on down to many other great things. Okay? Okay, I think I've talked a lot. And as I always like to end it, as wellness is not just a focus, it is a lifestyle. Because it is, ladies, as you can see, you can make changes to what your body is telling you by making lifestyle changes, right? It's not about so much dieting and just juicing 1 carrot a day and eating that. No, it's about eating a balanced food that's going to help with your condition, or prevention. We also talk about your health is your wealth, because if you're not healthy, it doesn't matter if you were to win the lottery today. You won't be here to see it if you don't start taking care of your health. Okay, ladies, so enjoy the rest of your day. I hope that it's sunny where you are. It's sunny where I am. I'm going to go out there and get some of that sun and continue doing some more work to bring back more great episodes to you. You have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you soon.